The theme of today's video is Read the Deed. Welcome to Real Estate Smarts in roughly under 3 minutes. Now, the deed is like the title to a car. It's the only legal description of what's actually being bought or sold in a real estate transaction, so it's kind of important. And when you're out shopping for a house, looking online and looking at all the nice pictures, you're probably more focused on the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, the lot size, square footage, how pretty are the cabinets, are you going to have to paint this room? But the deed is the key document for the property, so it's essential that your agent take a look at that deed. Now, the deed will describe the property, of course, with directions and measurements, but it may also include other important information. It may reference covenants and restrictions, and sometimes it'll describe easements or rights of way that can affect your ability to use the property as well. Now, here's a good example of why it's important to read the deed carefully and sometimes dig a little deeper. I had buyers interested in a property in Bow. It was 2.11 acres. And the deed on the second page just had a little note that says, subject to an agreement to convey right-of-way between the within grantor and the town of Bow, dated May 29, 2009. And then it gave a book and page reference for that agreement. Now, the deed itself didn't say anything beyond that, but if you looked in the Registry of Deeds and pulled up that agreement, it said that the owner of the property, if the town of Bow ever decided to widen that road, would give 0.11 acres of the frontage to the town for no cost. And that 0.11 acres included a nice stone wall that was one of the selling features of the property. So unless someone had dug deep and discovered that, my buyers could have purchased the property and then suddenly lost a fifth of their acreage on the property. So that's one example. Another example, I had a buyer interested in a property that was listed as a two-family. And I knew a little bit about the history of the property. I knew it had been a two-family several years ago, and then it was converted to a single family. And I know that the listing agent had worked hard with the owner and the town to convert it back to a two-family. And when I looked at the deed, I figured out why. It's because after it was a two-family, apparently one of the occupants' children tested high for lead. And so the state issued a lead paint hazard reduction order for that property, which meant no one could rent it again until that lead was remediated throughout the property. And that's why the original owner had just turned it into a single family, because it was not subject to the order at that point. But what was interesting is the seller who had converted it back to a two-family, on the 5-page seller property disclosure, checked off that he had no knowledge of lead paint hazards. And on the lead paint disclosure form, he also checked off that he had no knowledge and no records of lead paint hazards. And yet, there it was in the deed stating that if this property were ever used as a rental, that lead had to be remediated. Now, why do I say all this? You're probably not going to go digging through the Registry of Deeds to find your deed or, the deed of a property that you're interested in. But if you are interviewing agents to list and sell your house, if those agents don't bring a copy of the deed to that appointment showing that they've looked that information up, that's a red flag. And if you're a buyer working with an agent and that agent doesn't send you the deed or at least look at it themselves prior to the showing so you know what you're looking at, again, you may want to reconsider. So, again, the deed is crucial to a real estate transaction because it's the only legal description of what you're buying. And sometimes you have to dig a little deep to really understand what's being offered. So, as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch. And if you like this video, feel free to share it with anyone you think it might benefit. And you can always follow me on my blog or on my Facebook page to see more. Thanks.